Hello everyone, welcome back to the DM side. As a DM, have you ever thought to yourself, I'm stuck in a situation where my players don't know what to do and I don't know how to help them without shoehorning in the solution? Well, today we're going to talk about how that happened to me in our previous session. So, let's recap the session, give this video a like if you are enjoying it, and subscribe to the channel for more content. So, the very first thing that they did in the chapter is exactly what I expected. After last session, they realized that they don't really have a lead on this person who ran off towards the Bent Nail, which is Astral Floxen, the Zhentarim, who has got the Strength of Galore and taking it to Gralhund? I can never remember the name of that villa. I know it starts with a G and it's got like Gralhund in it or something like that. But the point is, after getting more information, they found out about this construct that Watch sort of recognized possibly has come from the House of Inspired Hands, which is the temple to Gond, the god of creation and invention, essentially. And so that's where they went, which is kind of what I was hoping for. They went there, they saw all the really cool tributes to the mechanics and pedestal inventions. They saw a hat that slaps you to keep you awake. They saw this cool manta ray submarine that has only been created in the last 10 years maybe. They saw a dragon turtle recreation that sank 100 years ago. It was really cool. They loved seeing all those very funny but awesome inventions over the last however many years they've been made. Finally, they started to speak to the priest there, Valletta, a dragonborn, bronze dragonborn, follower of Gond. Now, at first she was very interested in Watch because there's a whole side story that Watch's father, Tesla, his creator, used to be a follower of Gond and did a lot of work there in the temple, but some things went awry. No one really knows what happened. Tesla never really revealed it, but obviously there's a story there that may be told one day, and maybe I'll tell you guys if it happens. The point is, eventually they went upstairs and saw the Nimblewright. Then they spoke with the Nimblewright through means of hand gestures and sign language that was developed by the Nimblewright and Valletta. Finally getting the information that there was a second one out there that he created to be his friend, and it got really confused and just vanished. So, what do you do when your friend runs away? You create a magical item that's going to find him, and it's got a cool little umbrella on top, so you click it, and if they're within 500 feet of you, it spins. Gave it to the players, and they were offered 500 gold to find and destroy this Nimblewright, as well as getting a gift from one of their cool invention boxes, essentially. But that's where things sort of started to fall apart. Now, the book suggests that they just kind of canvass the city, and they go about their business until it starts spinning. So they first of all went back to the Trollskull Manor, where they start to spin it. And the one thing this book really needs is to tell you the dimensions of the city. There are so many times where I went on different websites and got different information about how large Waterdeep is. So trying to actually nail it down to 500 feet all of a sudden became just a DM sort of guide, I guess. So eventually I found one where it said that Trollskull Alley from point to point was about 700 feet. So I went, great, I'm just going to run with that idea. And it's like, I don't want to do all this math, so we'll just stick with that, and that way I can just kind of get it on the map and do this and go 700 feet there for you guys. So when they got to Trollskull Alley, they clicked it on, it didn't go off, even though the Gralhund Villa, Granhold, I know it's like a G name villa. It's really close by, but it's not like next door. It's kind of a bit further on, down in the North Ward. So it didn't go off, and then they sat around, they spoke about what they were going to do next, and so they decided, well, you know what? With the information we have, let's go down to the Dock Ward and go to those cool pirate ship things where the circus guys are, because we know there's drow there, we know they have what they call the boom boom stick, or the fire lighter, the gun, and they want to kind of see if maybe this person is the one who has the Nimblewright. Great plan, because the book accounts for that. Zardoz Zord does have 2 Nimblewrights on each ship. So then they went down there and they clicked it, and it span like crazy, and they went, yes, we have to get on that ship somehow. And that's where it all fell apart. They couldn't figure out which one it was on because there's one on each ship. So they had all these really cool plans to move away 500 feet and see when it began to slow down. And then they would know that's on the left ship or the right ship. But the problem with that is there's one on each ship, so it just spanned equal distance. So we had a real issue with that. And that's where things really got tricky. They went, great, maybe it's not on the ship, maybe it's underwater. So they went about their business. They then got some potions of water breathing. They swam underneath. The druid turned into a fish. And then, really cool, this is one of my favorite parts, found the submarine underneath the eye catcher. And that was probably one of the best things, because I went, oh, maybe they're going to go on it. And they started to devise a plan to actually get on it. They went back to the Temple of Gon. They saw the replica of it, which then I just gave them the map because I had the schematics for it. They found an entrance hatch, so then they decided, well, maybe we can get on it through there. So they swam underneath with their potions of breathing, and they were ready. They were actually ready to go in and take the submarine, until they realized that when they clicked the Nimblewright detector, it went slower than when it was over by the other ships. And they went, okay, well, now we know that what we're after isn't on this ship. And we know that this is probably very dangerous, both in-game and out-of-game, and we actually don't have a reason to break into this submarine. So they were so close. They were at the hatch, ready to open it up underwater. So that would have been really interesting. But then they backed out and went, nope, it's too dangerous, and it's got nothing to do with what we're actually doing currently. So then they swam out onto the land, and they kind of sat there in game and out of game for 2 hours, talking about what to do next, where to go next. And it was very interesting from a DM perspective, watching them try and figure out what to do next. But then I realized the time had gone by so much, and I kind of started to feel bad and go, maybe I didn't leave enough breadcrumbs for them. Maybe I locked them into just finding this Nimblewright. Maybe I should have given them more information on the person who got away, so they had two. Maybe I should have just given them the location when they were at Trollskull Alley. And so I started to feel a little bit bad, because I could see the frustration that they didn't know what to do. And we as players kind of stopped the game, and we actually started to kind of chat about what's going on. And we realized that as players in the other modules, we've been conditioned into not asking for help from other people. Whereas in Waterdeep, you are encouraged to make these connections with your faction leaders, with Raynar Neverember, with Volo, with Lariel Silverhand, the Blackstaff of Waterdeep, all of them, even the Zentarum, the Xanathar's Guild, everyone. You are encouraged to make these friends and connections, because you're never going to be strong enough to take down the head honchos. So you want to have backup, essentially. And it was very interesting, because no one felt comfortable going to their faction leader, essentially. We had Watch, who could have gone to Sabella Brenta, and she could have flown around on the Griffins, and they could have swept the city a lot quicker and found the location, or the multiple locations of Nimblewrights, and then they could have gone about it differently. We also had Mert. Mert is a harper. He has tons of information. He could have given up information about the Growlhuns, Grandalhuns, whatever they're called, being possibly broken into by a person who was in pain and limping and burnt on the face, which was direct information that they'd gotten about this person who got away. There's Raynar Neverember, who gives you that information as well, and gives you a little bit more on who Dalakar the Dwarf is. And he kind of implores you to keep going. So it became really difficult. The players spent a night watching the ships to see maybe if the Nimblewright came off, which it didn't, because these two ones on the ship, they're just workers. They actually have nothing to do with the story, but it allows you to get audience with Zardoz Zord, and then that can kind of propel you into joining him, which is an option. So I had some cloaked figure come up to the jetty, and a drow come out, exchanged money, or a bag of what looks to be gold, as well as some scrolls, and the players didn't do anything. They just kind of watched it happen and let them get away. 3 of them were asleep. The people on watch just let it happen. And that's the craziest thing, because if they'd gone down and spoken to them, they would have realized that there was this exchange going on between, first of all, I would have given them more information on the other Nimblewright, because they're looking for the stone, so they could have potentially gotten that information off the scrolls and gotten a gun. And then also, they probably could have bumped into Lariel Silverhand, because there's a special event where she's actually come to have audience with Jalaxel Bainray, but he sends out Drow instead, and then she talks to the characters, and she can give up information, because she kind of knows everything that's going on, but she's got a lot of other things to deal with. So there was a lot of things that I could do if they took action. And it got to a point where I said to them all at the table, I said, guys, literally, if you go to anyone, I can give you something to take forward. But I can't just have everyone show up at the dock ward while you're sitting around talking about what your options are, because then I'm just shoehorning it in and giving it to you. And then one of my players came back in response and said, that's totally understandable, but we don't want to go to someone and ask for the answer. We want to go to someone with an option and ask them for help. And I love that. And it made me realize you're right. It's not about giving your players information for free. It's about them coming with a plan. And so then they finally stuck to a plan. They decided after 2 hours, let's just go to Raynar Neverember. We're going to ask him to throw a party in the dock wards because it's winter. Not everyone's having a great time. It's getting colder. Food is maybe getting a little bit scarce as we move further into the cold winter. And Zada Zord definitely wants to get in with him. And that was a great plan. So they went there, they got extra information about Ustral Floxen, who now they can investigate later on. And on top of that, they threw this awesome party, which then had a lot of the crew members come out so that they could sneak onto the ships, kill the Nimblewrights, take their heads, and escape back to the temple. And unfortunately, the very last thing is they were the wrong Nimblewrights, so they didn't actually get any reward. And I felt really bad, so they got some cool inventions, but no 500 gold pieces. It was a real kick to the gut when they realized that that was just all for nothing. But they're really great players, and they kind of came to terms with it and said, this was just our poor planning. We have so many options and we chose to take this route, and that's on us. And it's not like it's the worst thing ever. We can bounce back from it and there's more information. And in the end, we all had fun planning, which was really interesting because it took up 2 hours of real time. And then eventually I got to a point where I just said, guys, it's nighttime. You have planned all day. You guys have been speaking all day. Just to give them this idea of time passing and how little they're doing, and trying to give them a boost to go, we just got to pick something. Let's do it. So if you've actually ever had anything like that before in your campaigns, how did you solve it? Did you put something in front of them? Because I was like this close to going, there's an explosion like down on the end of the dock ward, just so they would have something to run to. And then I would have maybe Xanathar's guild brawling it with Zhentarim, and then a gazer comes by and information's dropped and something to just reveal more information. But I'd love to hear how you've dealt with situations like this. So next session, it's not really going to be that different to the last video. I'm expecting them to now move through chapter 3 much quicker. They're definitely going to go over and check out the Growlhuns, Grandalhuns, whatever they're called, villa, and they're going to commence following through with the story from there. I really do wish that they got to have dinner with Zada Zord, but they were just really afraid of being murdered, and I had to talk to them about that and go, hey guys, it's a story where you're low level all the time. It accounts for the fact that you're not just going to be killed outright. That just wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't make any sense. So have more confidence in talking and risking going into the lion's den to talk your way through it, or you have a lot more information than them. Sometimes you might have it. You can bargain with them because that's what the story calls for. So the main thing is I'm expecting them to now do chapter 3, and then we'll move swiftly into chapter 4, where Zada Zord is most definitely going to be the final villain. I'm calling it here. After their events of the ships, he will figure out that it is them through means of his own abilities, and he is going to target them as potential threats. So check out that video when it comes out. Thanks so much for watching. Like this video, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.